At this stage, you can really enjoy your first demonstration and identify your distribution and the architecture that your system is using. So why don't you join me at the command line? So this is my Ubuntu 24.04 desktop system, but we want to be able to prove that. So we need to open up the command line. One of the simplest ways is to right-click on the desktop and move down to Open in Terminal. From here, of course, the command line environment is going to open, or what we call the terminal window. We can make the font a little bit bigger with Control and Plus, so that we're able then to go through and see the demonstration a little bit better. And why don't we begin by typing the command hostname CTL. On more modern Linux distributions, this really helps as it aggregates so much information together. We can see that the virtualization is VMware. We're using Ubuntu 24.04. It's the LTS, the long-term support version. We have our Linux kernel version 6 that we're using. We can see our hardware architecture is x86-64. So much is displayed to me on one page. However, we have got other commands that we can use. This might be the best way to quickly identify system properties, but we can use more traditional tools. To quickly clear the screen, I can use Control and L, and uname for Unix name, -A for all, allows me to print out the properties. Now this gives me some information, such as we're using Linux. It's Ubuntu, the kernel version, the architecture, and I can pull different elements out with different switches. Using uname -R, I can look at the kernel release or the version. And if I use uname -M, I can look at the machine architecture. So again, we're seeing the same values that I was able to see from the hostname CTL command. If I wanted to identify the actual version of Ubuntu I was using, I could take a look inside of a text file. So cat lists the contents of a file. /etc is going into the etc directory. And then I can go through and look at the OS release file. So I can see everything about the Ubuntu release here. But really, when we look at the hostname CTL command, we can see how useful it is in identifying everything we need to know, from the operating system to the kernel version to the architecture.